What's up, soil brothers and soil sisters? I have no picture. Let's see if I can fix this thing again. So we have her. Let's see. I'm going to put her up right quick. I'm going to stick.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. We're just going to give it just a few minutes while Sherry gets her camera together. It's going to take just a couple of minutes. We're excited. Today is going to be all about canning. So think about your questions. We have a panel today. We're going to be talking about water bath canning, pressure canning, and all things with that. So we just would like to say welcome to everybody. Let me just see who's in the chat. So hello, Lavender for Luck. Welcome, welcome. Hi, Jewel Oliver. Thank you for joining us. Hello, Alpha Haas. Good evening. And then hello to Lazy Days Ahead with Jesse and Lisa. There's our soil sister.
What's up, soil brothers and soil sisters? So I got to stop playing with this other thing because it's just throwing my life all off. However, welcome everyone to, I don't know what they call it, grab your balls.
Grab your balls. Yes.
It's that time. So, y'all, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add all of my lovely guests in. We have Grace and Fire, Glenda. We have Tony from Kettle Kitchen and Mennonite, our fabulous scratch queen. I hope you all are having a wonderful Wednesday. I think today is Wednesday. As y'all know, today is canning and prepping 101. So we will not really be in the chat, but I will get questions out of the chat. So y'all feel free to drop those questions because I am looking. So how are y'all doing this week?
Busy.
Awesome. Yeah.
Really good and busy. I've been canning.
You've been canning?
I have.
I've been canning too.
This was last night.
Yeah. So I can imagine Jamming Up June is keeping Kettle Kitchen busy.
And you'll see my canning on Friday when I go for June's Jamming Up June.
I'm looking forward to that.
I got to tell you guys a story. I died laughing this morning. So I'm sitting there in one of the channels, which Leanne knows because I reached out to her to ask her. One of the channels on my original or my changed calendar got moved around with another channel that posted today, and I got all confused. When you make a calendar and send it out to somebody, follow that calendar, please. I was all freaked out for no reason. It's just
so you confuse yourself.
I confuse myself, which I do on a regular basis. So it was new.
Well, as long as you know who to blame for it.
That's it.
Yep, and that's all right here. So
yes. So just to explain a little bit of what we have going on, we are streaming from Black's Tropical Homestead to Grace and Fire, Kettle Kitchen, and Mennonite.
It's a little dark in here. I gotta lighten up the place.
Lighten up the
So
place.
Bobby, Stealthy, and Mennonite, Leanne, you're just in the dark.
Well, we forgot to buy our.
Don't say pay your power bill.
I was gonna say we don't have electricity, but most people in Mennonites have electricity. because I get these comments on my channel how modern I am. Like, no, Mennonites are in this decade, not last 100 years ago.
Yeah, like I am here. I mean, I do have power.
Yes.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So y'all make sure y'all hit the thumbs up for each channel because it definitely help our channel share us all out. I think it's fabulous that we can stream from one channel and shoot this thing off to all these different platforms. We are on Facebook, so we all over the place. But y'all make sure y'all drop those questions in the chat for us, and we will start with. I think it's safe to start with a little recap from last week. Even though I always think it's cool to, it's okay to ask the same questions over because we are here for safe and proper canon. So it's okay. Don't feel bad if you ask the same question from last week or something from earlier in the show. So last week we went over a lot of things. It was pretty much, where should we start as a, Leanne, she can't hear.
Hello.
You need to pay your power bill. That's how this works. No.
She need to turn the light back down.
Yes. Oh, my live chat just went off.
Uh-oh.
Did it?
Nope.
Let me give Leanne a second. I'm going to drop her down and give her a second. Grace and Fire, can you still hear?
I still can.
Okay. So, let's start with, I want to make sure she'll type in the chat, I think. I don't want to keep her up. I know she's trying to figure out. So, what did you can today? You said you were canning today.
Well, I canned it last night. So later today, after I get done with the live, I'm going to be canning chicken. But last night, I canned hamburger meat. So I pressure canned hamburger meat in my pressure canner. And I'm really proud of it.
Wow.
Yeah.
That looks delicious.
I am so excited about that. To be able to have like a quick taco night or a spaghetti night. It's the perfect amount for just 2 people, which is all I've got in my household. So yeah, I'm really excited. So that's what I'm working on. And tonight I'm going to be pressure canning just some chicken. And then tomorrow I'm going to be making chicken soup out of the Ball book.
Okay.
Out of this one. So I'm really excited. I need to get my pantry filled up and I need to get my freezer cleaned out because earning season's about to hit us and I need my freezer. So yeah,
yes,
so I'm working on canning for that reason.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's see if Leanne can hear us now. We can hear her.
I can hear you. I don't know what happened.
Yay!
I heard this weird beep and oh my.
Oh no.
So anyway, I want to say a shout out to my live stream and say hello to everybody. And I appreciate you coming drop a hat because I didn't announce this on my channel, but I got some special people in the house. I got Diana, the Canning Nana, and I got Helga from Helga's, I can't remember her whole Pennsylvania cooking channel. So I want to thank them especially for coming in.
And on mine, I have Gathered Together Homestead, and that is a really good channel that puts out other channels, and I'm glad they're here. Glenda did say that Jesse and Lisa from Lazy Days Ahead are in the room.
Yep,
Blue Self-Reliance is here, and everybody on Your Best Behavior, Mouse Toes, is in the house. And Homestead Where You Are is also in my chat too. So welcome everybody and thank you. And thank you to you, Sherry and Bobby, for hosting this. I think this is awesome.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you. Thank y'all for for helping us out, because the most important thing is our safety and our family safety. So this really means a lot to me.
Exactly. And in my house of my chat, I have Lazy Days Ahead with Jesse and Lisa. So hello. And I have Linda Lou, and I have my mom with the official Ann Lynn show. So welcome to everybody.
Yeah.
Welcome everybody. And with my chat, I can see every house that is in the building. So I can
Good.
see everybody. Living for Jesus, Lavender for Luck, Owl
Awesome.
Smoking, Kettle Kitchen, Mouse Toes. So it doesn't matter where you coming from.
Okay.
I can see you. But it does say paired on my side.
Right.
It doesn't say where it's paired from. But
Got it.
I appreciate you all for being here. I have started a couple questions. So let's get this cannon going. Oh, by the way, we went shopping. I think it was Saturday, and we bought more jars. Let me make this thing so that we are all.
Let's
Yay!
see.
We found our utensil set,
Good.
and I was talking to everybody in the canning department, and they were just like, "Oh yeah, you do this and you do that." I was like, "Yeah, I knew y'all were canning people because we all in the same section, so you can just stand there all day."
Those are my people.
That's
No
it.
problem. They were like, "I
Yep.
tell you what, if you look on YouTube," I was like, "Yep, we already there."
That's it.
Best tip in the house. So, last week we did talk about. Let me get my notes. We talked about some of the beginning things that people like myself, beginner canners, should start purchasing, such as a utensil set. We have canning mats. I do not have, but I will get lids. We said 4 jars was a good place to start with getting lids, or just getting lids out of Walmart or anywhere. But we definitely want to make sure we have lids and jars.
Can I throw something in there real quick, Sherry?
Sure. Yep.
You had said that you don't have a canning mat. The easiest way to take care of that is lay down a towel, a kitchen towel.
Okay.
And my point is that all you're trying to do is keep it from the jar hitting a cold surface and causing thermal shock. So a towel will do the same thing until you can get yourself some canning mats.
Okay.
Or a cutting board.
Or a cutting board works wonders too.
Okay.
You're just trying to prevent that cold temperature and hot temperature reaching each other at the same time.
Okay. So that sounds great. Pretty easy. And a canner, of course.
Yay.
We talked about canners, and what kind of canner is safe for, say, my glass top stove versus someone's gas or electric with the coil. We talked about the difference. So anybody want to hit on that? Glenda, maybe?
Well, I have different kinds of canners. Unfortunately, my pressure canner is downstairs, so I don't have it upstairs for show and tell today. I have an all-American pressure canner, and that is used for low acid foods. If you can only afford to buy one canner, I would get a pressure canner, whether it be a Presto, which is a fantastic brand, or an All-American. I both are just fine. I just so happen to have the All-American canner. But you can use that for water bath canning. I also have, and it's fine. It's a USDA certified fine, an electric water bath canner. Only the water bath electric canners are fine. And I love that. It's great if you have mobility problems or upper body strength issues, because you can put that anywhere on your counter. You can even get it close to that sink, lift the spigot, dump the water right into your sink. Love that canner. So, or you can get, like, this is my first canner right back here from 11 years ago. Love my canner. It can just be as simple as a cheap canner. I love it. I still use it to this day. There's nothing wrong with that canner. Or I have this one. This was actually my second one. These are both water bath canners behind me. So yeah, you want to start with a canner. So they just do different things. But honestly, I have several different kinds of canners, and I love them all. So if you have any questions, ask away on the canners.
Most definitely.
I just want to
So,
say with Glenda's the stainless steel water bath canner, I
Yep.
have two of those, and when I have big projects, I use one as a stock pot, so
Mhm.
I can keep the assembly line going because you want
Yes.
flow of food to go through boom boom boom.
They're
yeah,
And
that
fantastic.
is,
and furthermore on what Glenda was talking about with the, I think they call those the granite style canners, the darker one that you have back there. Yeah.
Yep.
Um, I went in my specific situation. Remember now, everybody, if they remember the story, in 3 years, I did, I think it was 2,300 jars of stuff. Okay. I went through two of those canners in that amount of time because of the excessive use, the excessive wear on it, but they're very inexpensive comparatively to the other things. So while I do agree with Glenda, if you can do it, get it in one unit and then you're done. If you can't afford it, those are inexpensive, and I mean $20 I think is what I paid for mine. So they're not that expensive if they do wear out fast because of overuse or excessive use. So either way, don't freak out about it. It does happen.
No. Mhm. What I
So
find that
yes.
wears out the quickest is the metal wire in the basket.
yeah,
Those wear out the quickest. And the way to prevent those from rusting is as soon as you get done canning, don't put that back in the water. Leave it out, wash it, dry it immediately, set it off to the side. If you leave that back in that water, it's going to rust fast. But they are inexpensive to replace. But that is the one thing that I've had to replace. This thing has no rust in it, and it's 11 years old.
right,
Just take good care of your pots, but it does happen. I'm not going to say that this
right,
will never rust. It depends on your water and how you take care of it too, as well. But the basket on the inside is the one that you have to baby a little bit, and it can even be in this canner as well. All of
right.
the baskets you want to keep dry.
Okay. So we have a question. I think I saw this question twice, but I didn't want to get too behind. Can I use a Presto canner on my glass top stove for pressure canning?
So what I'm going to
Uh,
say with that is okay. I don't know the answer to that question. What I want you to do is I have a glass top and I have an All American. And this is what I'm going to recommend that you do. Contact the manufacturer of your stove and ask them specifically, can you put this canner on your stove? And they will be the ones to give you the green light or the red light. So otherwise, you could risk cracks and breaks on it.
yeah.
But with my particular stove, which is glass top, and I'm not going to mention the brand, but I do have a glass top. I've been doing it for 5 years, no problems. But you are taking a risk with that. They easily crack. So just kind of keep that in mind.
Anybody want to add anything?
I think it's a valid point. It was the biggest because I was like, well, why wouldn't you tell? I get why you're not telling. I think it's important, and we come back to the same thing. And the easy answer to the whole thing is do your own research. This is part of said research. You need to make sure your manufacturer approves of it instead of what any of us say. Because the problem is I could say yes, and I could tell you mine said yes. But if you go back to a point and you end up having a cracked stove, you can come back and say, I told you to. Let them be the one that told you to. You need to do your own research on that. So,
Yep. So I think this
Exactly.
question is for you, Glenda. Now, do you pre or post season your ground meat? Since you just canned ground meat, so
For this particular recipe, I followed the USDA guideline. I actually used, let me pull this book out. I used this book, and there, other than adding a little bit of salt, which is optional with this recipe, there is no seasoning in this. I actually like that because, quite frankly, I don't know what I'm going to use my hamburger for at this point in the game. Like today, sitting right here, I don't know. This might be taco meat. This might be spaghetti meat. I don't know. So it's not seasoned, no. But I followed the recipe in this book. Just what I'm saying is just look at your recipes. Some recipes might say to season it. So, but this particular one, no. Mm-mm.
Oh,
I would just recommend doing it after you can it, because then it has more possibilities.
Exactly.
Because a lot of people say they season it with taco seasoning, but it probably will not be as strong after you open the jar than it was beforehand. So I would just prevent that from just using it afterwards.
Yeah.
I agree 100%. I think you open the versatility possibilities of what you can do with it, and I think that's your smartest approach.
Yeah, that way you don't overdo it, and you can always add to it or not ruin the batch.
You know, the funny part about that, and I'm sure this question will come up again, but it relates to the same thing. It's kind of like how we discussed in the beginning about how to make tomato sauces or pasta sauce or things like that. Do the minimal, because you can do so much with it later on. Not stuck to any of these things talking about. You allow yourself the ability to use them in multiple different things by not adding the season ahead of time, unless it's intended for the processing. That would be the only reason you have to use those things. So, like we were talking with you, if you and Bobby want to do canned tomato sauce or pasta sauce, don't go so stuck on onions and peppers and salt and whatever else, because when you brown your hamburger later on to put in that product, you can always add those things in later, and it actually probably would make it taste better, I would think.
Yeah, that makes sense. But we were just under the impression that I keep explaining, we had the concept all wrong. We thought we could just make our own recipe and can it. So the purpose and why we came up with, well, maybe we need to do a canning 101 is to make people better aware that you have to follow the books.
Yeah.
And then add to when you want to cook. So it make way more sense to me. You know, we can fry onions, green pepper when we get ready to make spaghetti, and just add it all in and make it ours then.
But it really goes with what, like Glenda said, and you think about it now that you have that thought process, you could make in reality, you can make 100 jars of tomato sauce and make probably 20 different types of meals with the same base sauce, just adding your stuff differently as you go. So it really opens the door without making it hard on you, trying to make sure you're doing it the right way. It's all being done exactly the same way. So
and with tomato sauce, I'm sorry.
Oh,
go ahead, Glenda.
No. Go ahead.
Well, with tomato sauce, I got tired of making spaghetti sauce and all kinds of sauce. Granted, I will make pizza sauce no matter what, because I love that recipe. But with tomato sauce and spaghetti sauce and all those, I just make tomato sauce, and when I feel like spaghetti once in a blue moon, I'll just throw the seasonings in and put it in my Instant Pot, and bam, I have spaghetti sauce right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then I'm kind of a spur of the moment type person when I'm cooking. And I'm just going to throw another channel's name out. Daz did a live and a few months ago where he cooked on his channel, and he shared a recipe, and he used certain ingredients. And I'm like, well, I don't want to go to the store. Let me go to my pantry. And I literally was pulling stuff off my pantry and making his recipe with my canned goods. So it's nice to be able to have that basic ingredients too. Not saying that the meals aren't great, because I'm getting ready to make chicken soup. So that way, if I'm not feeling good, I can just make, pop a jar and, be able to have my chicken soup. I'll just add some noodles that day that I need it. But, just to be able to have that versatility to have a wonderful meal. I mean, it really opens the doors to so much more.
Yeah, that makes sense. So we have a question. Can you provide any information on preventing botulism? I know we talked about botulism last week, but I think it's important to hit on that again also.
Know where your food comes from.
Okay.
And know how it's handled. Like, that's E. coli. Like, just know where your food comes from and how you're preparing it and making sure you're washing it and just following the guidelines that's in these books. I brought mine along today. If you're following the procedures, you will not have any fear of having botulism in your food.
I think along. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Leanne. Sorry.
No, you can.
I think what's important is the question being, how do I get rid of it? These recipes are scientifically put together in a process that adapts to what you're making. So the content makes a difference. Number one, and Leanne's perfectly right. Know where your food comes, make sure it's clean food. That's the biggest thing. Don't use anything that's got a brown spot on it, a dead head on it. Don't get rid of it, because all you're doing is presetting that to be a problem later down the road. So if you start with clean stuff, you know where it came from, in the sense that it's not just off. I'm going to back off of that a little bit, but know where your food comes from. The other part that goes into it too is that following those rules specifically will give you exactly what that question was asking. If you follow them, like Leanne said, there's no reason you should have to worry about that, period. If you want to vary from that, if you want to add other things to that, you've changed the science behind it, you changed the recipe, and now you have a problem where you could get that in it. That's the easiest way to look at it.
And the other thing, Mouse Toes said it best: wash your dang hands. So wash your hands like thoroughly.
You almost got that down.
Ding, ding. I'm channeling Mouse Toes. Ding, 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 ding.
I can't channel Mouse Toes because I'm a Christian Mennonite.
She said, "Not for me, no matter."
I want to go back to church.
Question: I hear you have to keep the gaskets greased and the gaskets calibrated.
The gauge, absolutely. You want to be testing that at least every 2 years, and if you bump it, go test it, because I had mine running 2 pounds per pressure over for I don't know how many months, and I have mush in jars and didn't know that. So
go ahead. No, finish. Sorry.
So I think we talked about this last week, but anyway, you're all right, Tony. You can even go to an AutoZone store. You're just testing the pounds per pressure per square inch. Yeah, pounds per square inch. So they have testing there. Just go to your local extension office. In 2020, I had to make an appointment to drop off my lid. You just take the lid. Don't need the whole thing. Just the lid. And you can pick it up, and they'll tell you what it's reading. Very important to test the gauge. Yep. You don't have to keep the gasket greased too much, but you just want it not to dry crack, and you want to replace those every 2 to 3 years, depending on how much canning you are doing. And you want to wash it after every day, I guess, of use, and completely dry it. So my thoughts. I think so.
And that's with the Presto canners. I have an All-American, and there are no gaskets with an All-American. The only thing you need to do is to lightly put a little bit of vegetable oil around the ridge of the lid, and that's it. There are no gaskets with those.
So on mine is, I'm trying to, it's not going to, oh, there it goes.
Let's see.
I got to get this camera angle thing down.
Yeah,
I'm worried about the back part. Okay, so you can see the dial popping in every now and then. That's the dial gauge she's talking about. On mine, I have a ring that, can you see that a little bit? There's a ring inside of it. It comes in and out of this. Okay. Mm-hmm. These graphics do no good for this kind of thing at all. Anyways, you do need to, I'm trying to think, I'm going to go with what Mouse Toast says, but I think you might want to, for new people, you need to check into this. She says if you have a compressor, you can buy it for the testing on it. I know that some people have talked about automotive places can do it. and hardware stores can do it too, because we only have 23 states that have extension offices. So not every state has an extension office. So you're going to have to
Oh.
find some other location or means to have that tested.
Mhm.
Georgia, you guys are lucky. You got one of the best right there in your own state, because they're the ones that back up the process of the USDA's book that you have.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're the ones
Okay.
that actually facilitate the online version of that. So
Mhm.
you got a good resource down there in Georgia.
And then with Indiana, it's very sketchy because I actually reached out to my local extension office yesterday, and my local extension office doesn't have like anything for the canning, and they referred me to the county over, and the county over said I had to go like 3 counties over to take my pressure canner over to have it tested. So it's kind of sketchy in my area to get it
And in my
tested.
local office doesn't do any of that, but I can go to Pullman, which is 4 hours away from here, at the Washington State University Extension office, and they do the testing and have all that information. So it's a travel if I can't find another way to do it, but there are ways to do it. You just need to research it out. But you need to make sure those are checked. They're tested. Again, she is spot on. You hit that gauge, you better go get it tested. And even in recommendation from manufacturer, you should have it tested when you get it, because there's a possibility it can get dinged around in shipping too. So
Okay. So someone else was asking, do all pressure canner gauge have to be calibrated, even American?
I would say yes. But the All American also tells you like how many jiggles too. Like it's real specific. Like you can count like it's 1 to 4 per minute. So you can count like, and that's 10 for 10 pounds of pressure. And that's I just count too. So I know that I'm right in there. But you would want to have that gauge tested as well. So you don't always rely on it until you get that fully tested. You know that that's calibrated.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And in fact, I'm trying to get mine tested too, and I own one. So that would be the advice I would give, is to have it tested.
Okay. So, do you have to get the gauge calibrated if you use weight instead of a regulator?
I would think so. I mean, but I am relying on my weight because I have both on my All American. But right now, I am relying on counting for my weight. Does that make sense? Because I have both. Let's see if I can show. I don't know if I can show a picture if I pull this up on the book. That's okay. There we go. So there's 2 on there. There's the weight, and then there's the weight, and there's the gauge. So there's 1 on each of it. So and then in the book it says to count 4 jiggles per minute, and then you're within. If you go anything faster, then you need to knock your heat back slowly. And if you are under, then you're not getting the right amount of pressure in your cooker. You just read your book.
Okay.
And for mine, I have this. Oh,
There you go.
sorry.
Okay.
I'm trying to make it so you guys can see it. Sorry, there
I
it is.
see it.
Okay. Yeah,
Okay.
we can see.
Whoa, don't break the computer. This one here is, let me come back. That is a 1-piece weight that goes on the Presto. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Let me come back to that. I'm going to take this image off because that's just making it too hard to see.
So Mouse Toast is saying hula dance. So I'm assuming that must be with the Presto, hula dance for the Prestos. Because
okay, there we go.
All American, there's no hula
so
dance.
There's the single unit weighted. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. Weighted.
Mm-hmm.
What's the word I'm looking for?
Yeah,
weight.
weighted gauge.
It's a weight.
Weighted gauge. You can't hear me?
Okay.
I can hear you.
I can't hear any of you now.
Well, it's your weight falling on your computer.
Yeah.
All right. So can I go to my chat? They're saying in Georgia that they don't even have funding to test weighted gauges or the gauge. So I guess Mud and the Mascara is saying that they got funding, and that's a shame
Wow.
because you would think. Never mind, I'm not going to get on a tangent, but
The tangents are good,
I'm going
so
to
it's okay.
respect all of our channels and not go where that thought was. But yeah, there's ways around this, and with the
You
regulator.
mentioned AutoZone. That's a really good resource I didn't know about. So that's something I'm actually going to look into because I don't want to have to drive so far away.
Mm-hmm.
So for Indiana, our main extension office, if you guys are in Indiana listening in, Purdue University is ours, and we tap into Pennsylvania because Pennsylvania seems to be the lead on canning. So they connect. So look into your local extension office still and find out who the resources are. I know like with Purdue University, they do a master canning class. It's several hours from my house, but something to look into and see if maybe that, if you're close to a university that's doing that in your state, that might be something to look into as well.
And I've done that, and I'm in Pennsylvania, so
hopefully. Ooh, I didn't know that. Okay. Well, my state connects with your state.
So yeah, I'm a Penn State fan. I wanted to go to Penn State but couldn't afford it. But anyway, since it's so late in the year, I have to wait till 2023 to sign up for Master Food Preservationist classes. Okay. So, because if I'm on a YouTube channel, I want to make sure I have my facts straight and not just, I want to make sure I'm talking to the choir.
Well, I'm going to look into Kentucky because I actually live closer to Kentucky. So I'm going to reach out to Kentucky and see if I can get into one of their classes. It
might cost you more because you're out of state.
That's okay. It'd be the drive for me is the issue.
And Penn State does have online webinars about canning. I think they're doing jams this month. What a coincidence! But
nice.
Okay, so we have a question about All-American Presto, electric and regular water bath canners. I have had them both over 2 years. Any encouragement to get over being scared to just get started?
I am your girl. I am your girl on this one.
Still not hearing you guys.
Okay. Uh-oh.
I don't know what the problem is.
Sandra 760. So I asked for a pressure canner several years ago from my husband for Christmas. And I got it for Christmas and I tucked it away. And I had not a healthy fear of pressure canners. I had a horrible fear, because when I was growing up, I heard horror stories about pressure cookers blowing up. And just keeping this totally real. And I don't know if my mom with the official Anlin show is still in the chat, but she came to my house. And she's like, we are going to get you over this. We are going to get you through this, and I'm going to teach you how to use this. Now, my mother is not a canner, okay? Like, she's done a little bit, but she's not as crazy canner as I am. And she said, we're going to do this. We went to a local U-Pick farm. We got some produce, came home. I had a full-on panic attack. I'm here to tell you it was an ugly panic attack. I'm honest enough to tell you. And my sisters looked at me and thought I was the craziest girl ever. My mom walked me through this. And now pressure canning is my favorite thing to do. I'm going to tell you, do not be scared. We're holding your hands. Do your research, but we're holding your hands. We're cheering you on. Water bath canning is super easy. That's actually how I started. I was doing it several years before that. But the pressure canning, really, it took my mom to come over. And she still needs to go buy herself a pressure canner. So, Mom. I am appreciative to my mother. Yes, you can do it. Thank you, Mom. I see that coming through.
I guess Tony can't hear us then.
I can now. Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, Tony, tell us about your first time of running the pressure canner. How was it for you?
Oh, you would do that, wouldn't you?
Yes, I would. Come on, Tony.
Did you guys talk about what I was trying to before I bottomed out? Can I finish that real quick first?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm gonna hold you that though.
I will. That's fine. I'll have that discussion. This is called, a weighted gauge. Okay. On the Presto canner, it's a single piece. Whoops. The parts do not come apart. And it sits.
Let's get Tony up here.
Oh, yeah. You just got to get in my nostrils, don't you? Thank you.
Yeah.
This just sits on here. This works in tandem with this. Okay. That's one thing. The switch to it is the jiggler. The jiggler has weights on it. Okay. And those weights come off like that. So the unit itself is 5 pounds. I add another one for 10 pounds. And then I add another one for 15 pounds. Those all theoretically slide together. This thing sits on top of there and jiggles.
Like a hula.
Hula dance. Okay. If it's sitting here doing this, that's too much. It's too aggressive. Mm-hmm. And on the same side, if it's doing this, it's not enough. You got to get that steady hula dance working on it. Okay. My point I'm trying to get to is that and when you do it that way with this, the one that's the jiggler, this no longer becomes part of what you're doing. You're listening to this. Okay.
Because that's
and it goes back to what Glenda was saying in the sense of 1 to 4 jiggles a minute, I think is what you said, Glenda.
Yeah, well, the All-American, ours is, I'm going to pull the book up. So ours is it's a round one. And so there's a little notch with each, like, around, and you set it down on the weight. So there's 5, 10, and 15 pounds. And ours just, it goes, and you have to, it doesn't hula dance. I love that about the Presto. That's cool. I'm going to remember that hula dance. But ours just goes like a pressure cooker. And so you have to count 1 to 4 times within a minute for the All-American. I can't speak to the Presto because I don't own one. So
and also in addition to that, Mouse Toes and Renee over at Pike Creek Farm, they keep talking about it being weighted, and so the terminology for this jiggler is a weighted gauge. Okay, when you look in your USDA book, it'll have a scale that'll tell you if you're using the dial gauge, which would be the solid unit in tandem with the gauge, that's the dial gauge system. Using this without the dial gauge in the same listing, it would be the weighted gauge that you're going by. Am I correct? I don't want to mess anybody up, but that's my understanding.
Tony. Nailed it.
Thank you. Good.
I'm going to do a mouse. Nailed it.
She laughed when you intimidated her earlier. That was funny. Okay, so now I'm going to go back so Leanne can get her laugh out of me, okay? I was on the phone with her for, I think, 3 hours straight freaking out how to do this because I was where Glenda was. I had just seen too many of the memes and the pictures of the roof of somebody's ceiling blowing out from a pressure cannon going off. Okay. I couldn't get past that is where my trouble was. I was in freak out mode. And I mean, everything that canner did, I was like, is it supposed to do that? Is it supposed to do that? Is it supposed to do that? And Leanne's like, calm down. You got it. It's fine. The thing I needed to acknowledge and recognize, at least on the Presto, and I know All-American has its own versions of it. This thing here, that pops up. When that goes up, it's locked. There is a lip underneath here that will stop it, okay? The second thing is this. That's a pressure release. If your pressure gets too hot, too heavy, too fast, this will blow out and release the steam. So you no longer have the straight up through the roof and put a hole in your house thing.
And with your gasket, that also needs to be replaced, which comes in the same kit. And I had mine leak out, so I knew when I had to replace it.
So what locks the All-American is there on the top, there are bolts, and when you go to put your canner down, there is an arrow, and then there's a notch, and then you have to align that correctly, and then you take the bolts and you come up and opposite sides. You put them all up at the same time, and then you go back opposite sides again, and then you lock it down with your bolts. So that locks it in that same page, or into this. It locks it on, and then Tony, put your lid back up. Put the release that when the little rubber point to the little rubber. So the
right there.
okay, so the All-American has that as well on there too, so it will let go as well. That's on it as well.
The key to it is that the freak out I went through, theoretically, there's no reason it would have ever happened. This canner, as well as the All-American, has too many safety precautions in place
For it to blow off.
For it to blow up. Because I can tell you, and I know people would freak out, well, what happens if and what happens if? That's two different things in themselves. No, I'm good, thank you. There's two things in themselves that will stop that from happening. Right. This locks it, this releases it. So there's no need to be fearful, but I couldn't get that through my head. And that's why I had Leanne on with me. My issue isn't this anymore. My issue is heat, the constants of the heat, because I, like Linda, have a glass top stove and they fluctuate. So it's a constant battle, at least for me, to do it that way. But I'm learning it. If I didn't have Leanne there, I would have freaked out. I mean, I'm just being honest with everybody. It's what saved me. Now it's just learning and fine tuning what I know is where I'm at, and trying different things.
And I think it goes back to that question that we had earlier that we didn't answer about getting it to that sweet spot.
Yes.
And it's about gradually bringing it up to come back down.
Right.
We can't rush that.
Right.
No.
And if you have an induction stove like Tony, oh my. Talk about stress. I was on the other side of the country and I was like ready to go on a plane and say, calm down.
Oh my.
Well, it's really funny because you hear all these people and they talk about, I remember watching Mudbrooker on one of his just to see what it was like, what different stoves do. I think I've watched Lisa Over Sutton's Days and a couple other people. Point being, I watched before I had that thing for 7 months before I even opened it. That's how freaked out I was about it. Okay.
Wow.
But the difference in what they were using, so there's coil top, there's gas stove, there's induction stove, glass top. They're all different, and everybody's stove is different. So you really getting used to your sweet spot, as they're talking about, is important, because my sweet spot is nowhere near any of the ones I ever watched. That's the honesty of it. Right. Mine is totally different just because of the way it works. So my point I am getting to is get over the fear and just do it, because you're not going to know how it works until you do. I don't care if you got to do like I did and phone a friend on the other end. That is fine, because if they can at least walk you through and settle you down, it's going to be a much more calming situation.
And but I know a few times as well too, so you understand it.
Yeah,
I was gonna say, I know far as me, like seeing all of the safety features make it, and hearing y'all say that they have all these features in place for safety, you know, it make it a lot easier to just go ahead and get it done versus just hearing the stories and assuming.
It's just like ripping off the Band-Aid.
Yeah, yep. So now it's like that Band-Aid is ripped off. Now I feel comfortable because I know that these safety precautions are there. So a lot better.
And if I can get to this point and be the happy pressure canner and have that panic attack a few years ago, anybody can do it, because it was a bad one. So
yeah,
rip that Band-Aid off, girl.
I just noticed over on my chat. I just want to throw that out because I just noticed that I don't want to miss it. Jesse posted a link, Anatomy of Canner in Terms, and it might be smart for somebody to just go look at those and see what is what. You know, if you can't find, most of the pressure canners will give you a diagram. They'll explain what it is. But if you get confused or lost, that would be a good resource to go and look it up and see and get used to what things are called. I'm struggling because I'm on a live. I know what these things are, but right now I just can't think of anything, of course. So
Yeah.
To the
So we
question
had a.
about, sorry,
Oh, go ahead, Leanne.
about the question that was on about how often you rotate.
Yep.
I think I go through 2 or 3 jars a day. Like
Yep.
my dishwasher when it's working. The top rack is mostly canning jars. Like,
So I was saying last week that I saw another channel that I watched. She joined in on a pantry challenge where she will not shop for 2 weeks straight, and it's just mainly to clean out her freezer and her pantry so she can rotate her foods out. So I thought that was a great idea of how to use up what you have and make room for the new.
And that's
that,
important.
I think that's a standard. If you guys disagree, go ahead and say, but I think that is a standard. At least I'm in the same boat. Like right now, I'm trying to use up what I can because it does 2 things. It rotates my food, gets it used. We got food in the house. I don't have to worry about it, but it also frees up jars for me to use for the next canning sessions. So, I mean, it's a constant rotation for you to be able to constantly do it. I'm one of those canners, and I think everybody sitting here, minus you, Sherry, because you're not there yet, but the 3 of us, I think we are year-round canners, if I remember correctly. We don't just can by season. So,
Okay.
No.
And we did have a question. Go ahead, Grace and
I say I need to get my freezer ready for the garden season because I like to put my, for example, tomatoes in the freezer because sometimes those things just come in so fast and I can't process. I can't keep up with it. So I'll get them ready for processing day, but I'll throw them straight in the freezer until I can get to them. So it's important to get your freezers cleaned out to make room for that kind of stuff.
And the tomatoes that go in the freezer, they can only be turned into sauce. You can't put them into salsa or something else. So
exactly.
And for me, I'm a glutton for punishment because if they go in the freezer, it's out of sight and out of mind. So no, they don't go in the freezer in my house. I just get it done, and I might kill myself doing it, but you know, I just. Yeah,
but
exactly.
I'm kind of different in that. I mean, I get what your point is, and I understand what you're saying. I don't. My thing is we have so many people around here that are just trying to give produce away because they can't use it fast enough. So if I end up getting it in October, let's go with October, end of September, October, I'm shoving that stuff into the freezer because I know during the winter time, even though it's only tomato sauce, I can get it done throughout the year. And again, we're back to the same thing we said earlier. 100 jars of tomato sauce buys me 100 meals I could do different things with. I could give 2 craps about whether it's just tomato sauce or pasta sauce or whatever, because any of those things I want to make, I can make from that base tomato sauce. So you're not hurting yourself doing it if you can do that or you choose to do that. In Leanne's case, I get why she doesn't do that, but there's no reason why you can't expand that pantry you have just on that one product alone.
Right.
Yeah. So I was. Oh, this is a different.
Or you can make soups too with it, not just tomato sauce. That's the other thing. I've actually made the Ball put out a recipe for tomato soup, and I made that later in the year with tomatoes that I had freezed, and it was so good. It's better than buying the brand tomato soup, if you know which brand I'm talking about.
The one that's originally from my state.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, is that the Whoopie Pie tomato company? I can't remember the name.
Anyway.
Sorry.
So we should get to this question.
Yes, we have another question. I have a friend giving me plums to make jelly. I have a couple of the blue granite pots. Can I pressure can the jelly using a Presto canner instead of using the granite pots? The water bed.
No. Oh, wait. If you're using the pressure canner to water bath and not pressure can, then yes. If you're using it to pressure can jam and jelly, no.
Yeah, you don't want to pressure can it. But yeah, I agree with that statement. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I don't know
So we
how
have
to use it. Just like here.
And again, correct me if I'm wrong, either one of you. High acidity, low acidity is making the difference in that.
Yeah, exactly.
And you're deteriorating the product if you
Yep.
pressure can it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I see G Mama Grove saying she cannot wait to make jelly and jams. So let's talk about jelly and jams, because that is another. My husband, he want to make jelly and jam. So I think that's an important conversation to have when it comes to the canning world. How do we? And I know that is pretty simple. What is the deal with jellies and jam? I know it's a good place to start. What are some of the things we need?
Pectin.
Yep.
And the fruits.
And the fruits.
And depending on what fruit you're using, lemon juice.
Mm-hmm.
Not all of them will require lemon juice, so read your recipe, but some of them do require lemon juice. And it'll require a little bit of water, your jars. Yep. It's pretty simple. I mean,
most of the
or
recipes
honey
will have sugar, and that's where I was hesitating, because you can make a no sugar jam.
Mm-hmm.
Those are very hard to work with, but you can. I'm just saying they're a little bit more harder in the process. You can do low sugar and you can do regular sugar.
Right.
And I think Glenda's going to pop up the Pomona's pectin, which is a low sugar pectin.
And you can see I called this property honey because I made it with the berries found around my property. I did a mixed berry, got the recipe from the book, and you can use honey with Pomona's pectin. And I just wrote honey on there, so there's no sugar in it. It's got honey, but I followed the recipe from Pomona's pectin. Use their pectin only. Do not use another pectin with these recipes, because the pectin with this one is a calcium based.
And the other thing too, I've seen a comment. I think it's Rhonda Towery. She said lot of sugar. I get it's a lot of sugar. I am not here to deny that one bit, but I will guarantee you, and please somebody correct me if I'm wrong, it's a lot less sugar than if you went to the store and bought their brand of jam or jelly. So
it is.
So do you have to can jelly or jam be made without pectin?
With apple jelly, right? It has natural.
Yeah.
They have natural pectin in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the honesty of it, let's have the discussion of pectin. And my understanding, again, please correct me if I'm wrong, pectin is a derivative. The boxed powdered pectin, I'm not sure about Pomona, so I'm not even going to try to talk about that. But the pectin I use and the boxed pectin, they're a derivative of a natural pectin that's created from fruit. Fruit creates its own pectin. Okay, not all do, and not all do the same amounts. Theoretically, they're extracting that pectin out of the fruits and they're drying it. Okay, so what you're doing is you're putting a fruit product back into the jam and jelly to make it do a natural process it does to harden up or solidify. Okay, it really depends, I think, from my standpoint, and it really touches with Glenda and the Pomona's pectin. It's dependent on what you're trying to get out of it. Number one, in the fruit, what fruit you're after. Number two, are you trying to do no, low, or yes sugar? And then you're also dependent on what you're trying to make. It is a jam, a jelly, a preserve, a compote, a chutney. I mean, there's so many different, a conserve is another one. There's so many different things you can do with those that's dependent on what you're trying to aim towards too. So yes, you can make it without it, but at some point you're still making it with pectin. It's just a natural pectin or the powdered pectin or a liquid pectin or whatever it is. I don't recall, and please correct me if I'm wrong, that there's any jam or jelly out there with absolutely no pectin, no sugar. I don't think that's out there.
I'm I'm not 100% certain on that, so I don't want to answer that one.
Okay.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah, me
Well,
either.
I have a question on my live stream.
Okay.
Have any of y'all ever done sugar-free or alternative sweeteners in jams and jellies?
So this is honey. There it is. But I use the Pomona's pectin. And you can with Pomona's, or excuse me, with, okay, so the alternatives. So this particular brand, Ball brand, I'm going to read this to you, what it actually says word for word. As far as that's concerned, you can add sugar, sugar substitute, or honey is what the Ball brand says. So, and it's this low or no sugar needed pectin. So go to the store and you can see the recipe from there.
So,
Sherry,
somebody
I'm
really-
gonna send. Sorry,
Go ahead, Tony.
I'm gonna send you a link to something that's put out by the Oregon State Extension Office, and it has to do with low sugar jams, jellies, and fruit spreads, and their conversation about sugar substitutes, I guess would be the easiest way to do it. So I'm going to send that to you. So if you get it, will you post it up, please?
You sending it to me now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to send it to you in your email, I think.
Oh, okay. That'll be fine.
Okay.
Does anyone
All right.
have a recipe for jalapeno peach relish?
I just sent it in the private chat, Sherry.
This one just says jams.
Okay.
I didn't hear
looking.
what we were looking for. Jalapeno.
Jalapeno peach relish.
Okay, I got jalapeno peach salsa.
Mm-hmm.
Which book is that? Grace and Fire.
This particular one.
The one I have in a hardback.
Ooh, I like the hard one. That's nice. This is just
Nice.
I don't have all my cookbooks, but that's this one.
You
You can also go to freshpreserving.com to check out recipes there. Go to the USDA's food preservation website and see if there's a recipe there. You can look at your local extension office or even go around and look at Penn State extension office to see what they've got recipe wise. Purdue University is another one I saw recipes at. So kind
Clemson
of,
is a good one.
I'm sorry.
Clemson is a good one too, and Washington
Mhm.
State University.
Yep, look at the different universities for canning, and you might be able to find the recipe.
Okay. So They Call Me Sunshine asks, how do you determine which altitude you live in, and how important is that?
Go on to Google and tell Google you want to know what your altitude is. It will tell you.
Type in your zip code.
It's by your zip code.
And it's very important when it comes to.
It's extremely important.
I didn't hear
right.
the question. Sorry.
Oh, I was saying, I was reading the rest of the question. How important is it to know or use your altitude when canning?
You have to know your altitude. Yeah. If you don't know it, you're not going to be able to complete the process.
Because it tells you how much
It's what
time.
it's that. Yeah, go ahead, Leanne. Sorry.
It just tells you how long your processing time. Since I'm at sea level, I just go by what the ball book says. If it says 10 minutes, I'm canning for 10 minutes. But if I'm like 200 or 2,000 feet or above
2,000,
or something,
yeah.
you have to add like for every
5 minutes.
5 minutes for every couple thousand feet.
Yeah.
And that will tell you in this book or USDA National Center for Food and Preservation site.
Let me make it really easy and I'll show you what we're talking about. Can you guys see that? Okay. That's a recipe you get out of the USDA book, and there you go. It tells you zero. I think it's zero. I can't read it. 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to
6,000.
something, and I'm not
And
sure what the other one is. There. Go ahead and
Unless-
reread those again.
0 to 1,000 is 10 minutes. 1,001 to 6,000 feet is 15, and above 6,000 is 20 minutes.
You are not going to know how long you need to cook that unless you know what your altitude is. That's the plain and simple of it.
And it also goes for your pressure canner because it's going to affect your weights as well. Yep. So I'm just going to show the All-American. Let's see there this way. And I'm going to let Tony, I'm reciprocating. Can you read that?
I can't read because I'm blind.
Okay. Sorry. Okay. So for like above 2,000 but below 3,000 feet, let's just say for asparagus, it's 15 pounds. Mm-hmm. For asparagus, again, above 3,000 but below 7,000 feet, it's 25 pounds. Above 7,000 feet, it's 35 pounds. It affects your gauge as well.
Right. I want to drop on something because Pam from Blue Self-Reliance, she makes a good point because people, I'm going to precurse this comment with to Glenda or anybody in this situation. The low sugar is a necessity. I get that. But people freak out about the amount of sugar you have in just a normal jam, jelly, preserve, whatever recipe. And she makes a valid point. Nobody's saying you're eating a whole jar of jam or jelly at one time. You're usually using 1 teaspoon, 1 tablespoon, whatever it is. Even if it's multiple amounts, you're still not getting more than that much in a use. So don't overly freak out about it unless there's a necessity for you to. That's a whole different conversation.
Right. And in my kitchen situation, there is a necessity. There's a medical necessity. So I've learned to find recipes and pectins that are the low sugar, no sugar, or sugar alternative. The alternative I use is honey. So, and I stick with those recipes only. So if that's something that is that you have to look at, definitely take a look at the ball low or no sugar or the pomonas.
I also noticed that Lavender for Luck and Jesse at Lazy Days have listed either links or URLs to what's my elevation and how to find your elevation. So if you're looking for it, use it. It's a resource that's there and it tells you right where you're at. So.
So we have another question. My jellies always come out stiff. I think I'm going too far past the 1 minute after adding sugar and bring it to a rapid boil. Is the cold plate method a good way to get the perfect consistency?
I don't, me personally, I'll jump in. I don't use the cold plate method, but that's not a bad method. I'm not saying that, but the cold plate method isn't going to solve whether you're having a problem or not. It's just telling you whether it's gelled or not. That's what it's going to do. You need, when you go and jam and jelly and preserve, again, anybody throw in anything else they want to, it's part of having all your equipment together. A timer is part of your equipment, especially for new people trying to figure the process out. 1 minute means 1 minute. It doesn't mean 1.5 to 2 to 10 to 5 to 12, whatever. It's, again, part of the process. 1 minute hard boil is what helps set the pectin with the fruit to a set state. I would assume, not knowing your whole situation, if you're getting really hard jam and jelly out of it, it's because you went way past the 1 minute. If on the reverse of that, if it's jelly-like, meaning like liquid syrupy, it's probably because you did less than 1 minute, or the pectin is incorrect, or it didn't properly set right. That's my advice on that.
That makes sense. Okay, so I'm gonna move on to another question that we got last week. Does heat or cold affect canning items? So somebody was saying that they had a basement that I guess wasn't temperature controlled throughout the house, and they wanted to know, with it getting extremely cold or extremely hot down there, does that affect your canning items?
It will break the food down a little bit faster. especially with the heat.
Mhm.
It should be
You
in a
said
cool, dark. It'll break the food down quicker. So you want it into a cool, dark place, which it would be like, 60 degrees is ideal. Like in my cellar, which is a dirt floor and stone walls, and what very little light in there.
okay.
But underneath your bed also works.
Mhm.
If you have a little slider, scooter, just put it in a box and like have a mock drawer, you could say, and just put them in that.
Mhm.
Okay.
Can I read something out of the USDA book that I think it might help some people in this, but it goes with what Leanne just said. It's a little bit more into it. It says these are the goals to make your canned food last. Okay. Number one is fill your hot foods into jars, adjust for head spaces, and be specific in the recipes. In other words, don't deviate from them. Tighten your screw band securely, but if you're especially strong, not as tightly as possible. That goes back to the fingertip tight to where the band just starts to turn the jar. You're done. Don't go any further. This isn't a power test at all. Okay. Process and cool the jars. Cooling the jars is part of the process. You have to let them sit 12 to 24 hours because if you don't, you could be messing up the process. Okay. Store the jars in a relatively cool, dark place, preferably between 50 and 70 degrees. Leanne, 60's right in the middle. Perfect. Okay. I am in a worst case scenario for canning. My canning room was my canning room. The landlord moved in, or not moved in, but came in and put a furnace inside the room.
Wow.
I am constantly fighting the keep the temperature down thing. And sometimes my family suffers because I don't want it to get too hot inside that room. I have no choice. I don't have the space, and our weather changes so much. I'm not moving my jars in and out of the house 3 times a year. I mean, I just can't do it. So you have to do what you can to get it into this situation. Okay. That goes in this list can no more you will use in a year or two. And I think they put the year or two because of specific to 18 months is what the standard is for most of your supply companies now. Their liability won't go past that if you have it longer than that. I'm not saying you can't. I'm not saying it won't happen. Many of us will sit here and tell you we have stuff that has lasted far beyond that, and it's been fine. But those are in prime work or storing conditions. People are going to get 5 years out of it if it's in that 50 to 70 degrees in a dark place that's cool and left undisturbed. It makes a difference. Anybody disagree or have anything else to add? Because that to me that tells you where you need to be.
Okay. So let's talk. I know everyone is not able to grow their own groceries per se. So let's talk a little bit about me purchasing all of my goods from the store and recanning it or canning it when I get home. How does that process work? Or is that a process of buying things from the store, bringing it home, and canning it?
So I have a couple. Oh, go ahead. No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, before you go to the store, make sure you know how much you're going to purchase. That way you're not over purchasing. Because some recipes, like tomatoes, for example, you might actually need a weight, like pizza sauce. I need 22 pounds of tomatoes in order to make that sauce. And, you just need to know your quantities before you even go.
Okay.
And I think it also depended on what you're talking about. If we're talking about meat is going to be one angle, vegetables are going to be another angle, depending on what you're doing with it. Jams and jellies are going to be different because jams and jellies, unless you're using a pectin, you can't use. Okay, that's another conversation, so I'll hold off on that. The point I'm trying to get to is it's dependent on what you're making to answer that question. Now, what I heard Sherry asking, can I bring a 10-pound can of tomato sauce home and recan it so that I can store it longer on my shelf? The answer is no. If I want to use that 10-pound of or number 10 can of tomato sauce to make pizza sauce or pasta sauce or in a soup or something, that's a whole different conversation because we're not recanning to just can. Does that make sense? And was that the question?
Yeah, yeah. Like I know some people, they when they grocery shop, they may get items and they feel like if I can it myself or take it home and recan it, I'm sure. I mean, in my mind, I don't think people would buy canned goods, bring them home, open them up, and recan them. But I guess with a lot of with this being canning and preserving 101, it's safe to even answer that question. Is it safe to recan canned items or anything from the store?
I would give one. Go ahead. I have one exception and I'll save it for after what you have to say, Glenda. Go ahead.
So one of my recipes that I'm getting ready to do, it actually calls for chicken broth.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to end up having to use chicken broth that I bought from the store because I don't have chicken broth here at the house. And it talks about, the canned chicken broth. So I am going to have to use that. But I mean, example of what I bought from the store, I went and I bought beef from the store. I don't have a local resource or I don't have a cow to take, This is from the store. Actually, this is from Costco. To be perfectly honest with you, this was a Costco run. The beef could not fit in my freezer. So guess what I did with it? I canned it. And then I made applesauce last year. And this is from a U-Pick farm. I mean, there is nothing wrong with going out and supporting local U-Pick farms and having a great day with your family. Come home and can it up. So that's what I've done. So there's a lot of resources. Don't limit yourself to where you go, to shop as well. I dropped a video of what my husband and I did. We went and picked 24 pounds of strawberries, and my gosh, for an entire week, I was finding a bunch of ways of preserving those strawberries. And one of them was to make strawberry jam.
Mm-hmm.
And, I didn't grow those strawberries. They came from a local U-Pick farm. So,
I think if you go to a grocery store and buy fruits and vegetables, not everybody has their own. They don't have a U-Pick next to them or a farm resource or whatever. I get that. Just make sure you're really washing your fruits and vegetables.
Oh,
That's
absolutely.
The best thing I can tell you, because at that point, you may not necessarily know where that product come from. So the best advice I could give you to do it, because in some cases you're going to have to, or some people are going to have to, make sure you clean those fruits and vegetables. Now, the flip side to that, I made a mandarin orange jelly the other day. I use canned mandarin oranges because guess what? I don't have a mandarin orange tree sitting around me or anything, and I'm lazy. I'm not going to sit there and clean off mandarin oranges, but there's a reason why I can do that. Jams and jellies can be made as long as you're using a pectin, fresh, canned, or frozen fruit.
Okay.
You have to use a pectin on the canned and the frozen. Fresh is a different situation. Am I saying I do that all the time, or I should? No. But I also know I'm not going to get mandarin oranges unless I do that way, or mandarin orange jelly, because I don't live where they grow. So in some cases, I see the need and the necessity to do that. Now, the same question can be asked, and I'm going to let you two answer this because I don't have a direct answer to this. Can you can frozen vegetables? I think you can. I think that.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I wouldn't do broccoli or.
Yeah.
Well, you can't can broccoli, but you know.
Yeah, you can't can broccoli.
That's what I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
like lima beans or green beans, you can.
Okay.
And to go with the subject of outsourcing your products, you can also go to a vegetable processing plant. Like I live maybe 2 hours from Hanover Foods, and they sell seconds. You can get green beans that have already been cut and washed for like $10 a pound or something. I don't know what the crazy amount is, but that's what my church sisters do instead of growing their own. Like it's possible to live within your means and can and preserve your food.
Okay, so what if I went to Sam's Club and bought the big can of string beans and I decide, hey, let me break this down in a couple pints?
You
No.
can't do that.
Oh,
Think of it this way: if you're using it as an ingredient in a canning processing process, that's one thing you can do. That theoretically you're going to have to research, make sure the product can be canned. If you're using it as its sole ingredient just to repurpose in smaller portions or longevity of that, no, you can't.
okay. Makes sense. Let's see. So, oh yeah, I do have a question. So say I put a batch into pressure can and some don't seal properly. First, how can I tell if they are sealed properly? Second, what do I do if they are not?
So the jar, the way to know is next day you will notice that they will, here, let me grab one that's not sealed. This is a brand new jar.
Mhm.
Can you hear that sound?
Yep.
Okay, all I'm doing.
Yeah, I can hear it.
I have a microphone right here, so I just put it up against the microwave.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. So you'll just finger on and it'll go up and down. So that is an unsealed jar. With this one, it is sealed. See, I'm pushing down.
Nothing.
No noise.
Nothing.
Yep.
So if it's not sealed, you can put it back through the canner and reseal it, but you would need a new lid. So take that lid off, because I always count that lid as a dud, is what I just don't reuse the lids. Wipe that jar down and then reprocess it.
And you got to make sure your product is hot again and
Yep.
sanitize your jars again and all that.
Yep.
Okay.
And then you got to make sure it's been less than 24 hours, but not too close to, I mean,
Yeah. There's
most
a
of
time frame on it.
like most jars will seal within like an hour of being out of the canner, but you're still supposed to wait a good amount of time before you even say, oh, this jar failed.
Safely
Mhm.
processed home canned foods can be recanned if the unsealed jar is discovered within 24 hours. To recan, remove the lid and check the jar sealing surface for tiny nicks. Change the jar if necessary. With two-piece metal lids, use a new prepared flat lid. With other lids, follow the manufacturer's directions for reuse or recanning. Reprocess the jar using the same processing time. That came from the USDA.
In addition to that, I think we're a lot of, hold on, I got a bike going.
Psalm
I think we're a lot of
146.
canners get, oh, sorry.
You know what? As long as okay, so sealing dry things, if you're just putting it on, just to store something, I would reuse it. But know that it's not going to work with your food savers. Like if you're suctioning the air out, it's not going to work. It's just uses a lid.
What I was going to say in the reprocessing thing, I think where a lot of people get confused, and I struggled with it in the beginning, is that you're told when you're done processing jars for the first time, give it at least 12 to 24 hours. Did you hear what I just said? At least 12 to 24 hours. There's a reason why they say that. 12 hours is the mandatory process. You should let that jar sit there, okay? If you're going beyond that, it's because that didn't seal yet, but that doesn't mean it won't seal. It still could be working its way up to the 24 hours. If you get to 23 hours and that thing hasn't resealed to fit in to the no more than 24 hours, I'd be reprocessing it. That's what I would do.
Right.
Or I'd be putting it in the refrigerator, one of the two.
Right. And here's the other way of knowing. I'm actually holding it by the lid.
Mhm.
This was done last night. I'm holding it by the lid. But don't just hold it like this. First, check this. That's the quickest way.
If you do it that way, hold underneath.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I do not recommend this. But you know what I mean.
Okay, so let's talk about some of the things that we cannot or are not recommended to can, such as, I don't know. I'm gonna let y'all tell me. What can we not can, or what should we not be canning? I see a whole lot of butter canning videos.
No dairy.
Not recommended. It is not recommended by the USDA. It's not been tested. If you want to take that chance, that's on you.
Okay.
Same with milk.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the honesty of it. I mean, you're either going to follow the rules or you're not. Don't sit there and say I follow the rules 3 times out of the day and not the 4th.
Right. So
Yeah.
pasta, rice, that's another one that you don't want to can because it's just not good. So don't even bother. You know what? Honestly, like I'm going to be making chicken soup and I'm going to be able to add the rice and the pasta at a later date. So it's not like I can't have my pasta or rice in my soup. It's just going to be at a later date. So nice and fresh.
And then it goes back to the seasoning we were talking about in the tomato sauce or the hamburger. It's something you can do after. Granted, it's not going to make your meal done in 2 minutes. I get that. But 5 minutes versus an 8-hour day makes a huge difference. So what's the problem with boiling your rice water or your noodle water?
Right.
And then in addition to that, no dairy products. Correct me if I'm wrong, ladies. No dairy products, no rice, no pasta, no... My brain is not oils,
cornstarch.
Yeah, no thickeners, I think is what it's called. Now there is 2 exceptions to that. When you do apple pie filling, you are allowed to use clear gel. That's an approved canning thing. Whether you want to or not isn't the point. I'm just saying to not confuse somebody. This is one of those exceptions you can. The other one, if I remember, is Thermagel. Somebody? Okay.
Right.
Maybe they don't know. I don't know. I think Thermagel is utilized for pressure canning, but it's only in small amounts. Research it if you're interested in using it for something. I don't know anything about it. But those 2 things are the only types of thickeners that are approved to be used by the USDA in certain situations.
Right.
Okay. I think I know it. I had a question. Can we can items without salt? I know sometimes things require salt. Is there a way around salt sometime?
Don't put it in.
So
unless it's part of the preservation part of it.
Right.
Sorry.
So if the recipe says that it's optional, then you don't have to put it in. So the hamburger recipe, for example, it said it was optional. So I didn't have to put it in, and guess what? I didn't put it in there. So there is no salt in there. So that way I can go back and add the salt if I want to. But read your recipe. It'll tell you if it's optional.
Yep.
Okay. Yes. I saw Best Yet say she was asking, can you can squash?
You can pickle it.
I don't think you can. Yeah, I don't.
It's not.
I'll look it up.
It's not in these books.
Okay.
And Suburban Hillbilly says you can't can breads and cakes and cookies and all that.
Right. Good addition.
And chocolate. You don't want to can chocolate. That's for fresh eating only.
Hold on. Chocolate cherry jam.
Oh, come on. I was having a fun joke.
I was like,
well, and I'll be honest with everybody. My chocolate cherry jam doesn't actually have chocolate in it. It has cocoa powder in it. So there's a difference. That's an acceptable thing you can use too.
Yeah, that makes
sense. Per the recipe.
Okay, so I know Tony looking something up. What?
Oh no, go ahead. I'm good.
Okay, I just have one more question. What are the core concepts people should keep in mind, or we should keep in mind with canning?
Huh?
Yeah, can you clarify that? I'm a little not sure how to answer that.
What are the core concepts, or what are some of the practices or things people should always keep in mind while canning? We're going to start with Leanne.
Read your recipe before you even start. And if it's not in a ball book or National Center for Food and Preservation website or the book or your extension office, don't even use the recipe. And you want to make sure you have all your equipment sanitized and mise en place. Always have it all set out and clean and wiped down. And have your meal ready, like in a slow cooker, before you even start, because you're going to be exhausted by the time you're done. And make sure you have good quality equipment. I can't stress that enough.
Yeah.
Because
I was gonna say something. Wash them darn hands.
So you saying that if my mom gave me her grandmom's recipe from 1913, I cannot use her recipe and can it? My grandma's famous recipe?
more or less, it's going to be too thick, and you're going to be worried about density in your jars. And if the heat doesn't penetrate to the center, there might be botulism in the jar. So that's why we don't want to use grandma's recipe. You can make your grandma's recipe and maybe possibly freeze it if it's spaghetti sauce, but you can't put it in jars.
All I was going to say is I think the important part is if you want to utilize grandmas, great grandmas, or uncles, George's, Bob's, brothers, sisters, aunts, uncles, I don't care. Do your research to make sure the rules haven't changed since that recipe was written 500 years ago. Things are totally, I mean, just in 10 years, things have changed somewhat. So you just got to do your research. And if you have questions, ask the right people. That's the easiest way to do it. That's not to say you can't do those recipes. But I agree with
You're the wrong direction there, Tony.
That more than likely you're not going to be able to do it just the way the recipe says. More than likely you're going to have to modify, adapt, change, whatever to fit whatever the guidelines are. But don't be feeling that you're downhearted about it, because you can still make it taste the same. It's just a different way of doing it usually. Mm-hmm. So that's my advice on that part. Oh, I did find, not to any of you because I thought the same thing. There is a recipe in the national book for winter squash. Cubed, follow the pumpkin processing on page 418. So there you go. Okay. Yes, you can.
I'm sure my husband would love that.
Should I send him an email for you?
No.
So, has anyone on the panel heard about anyone getting botulism?
Yes.
Recently?
In Washington State, yes.
Oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I heard about that.
I am here to tell people it does happen. You can play this game that it doesn't happen. That's something that happened 20 years ago, 100 years ago, 500 years ago. It happens today.
Right.
So you want to add anything? What did I do? Oh, Grace and Fire.
I think just following the recipes is the biggest thing, and wash your hands, have a clean surface, but most importantly, have fun with it, because I think canning is a lot of fun. It shouldn't be stressful. I mean, I understand the pressure canning if you're new to it and getting over that fear, there is that, but honestly, it's a lot of fun. Leanne said it best, put a crock pot meal on, because at the end of the night you are going to be tired, and I didn't have a crock pot meal last night, but we had a quick sandwich night. But it's just a lot of fun, and really the sky's the limit with these recipes. Like basically, if you want to make tomato soup, I guarantee you'll find a tomato soup in one of these recipes. Or if you want to make a jam, you'll find a jam recipe. You know what I mean? they're really good recipes. I have just been really impressed by the ball books. I've been impressed by the USDA guideline, the books that I've seen online, with the local extension offices. I have been just really impressed by them. And then when you take these off the shelf and you're cooking with them and you're adding things to it when you're making your meals or whatever, oh my gosh, there's nothing like having home canned foods. I'm telling you, it's not the same as store-bought. Now, do I use store-bought canned foods when I'm creating dishes at home? Yeah, because sometimes I don't have certain things. So I'm going to grab my canned foods and my store-bought and create a dish when I'm cooking. But, oh my gosh, the enhancement these make. I'm just saying, get to canning, grab your balls, start canning, because this is the best stuff ever.
I think the other thing I would add to that, there's no better feeling than when you walk into your pantry, your storage room, wherever it is you have it. And the question you're asking yourself is, what am I going to make tonight, instead of I don't have anything to make tonight. There's a big difference between that. And when you can go in and do what Glenda said and pull 3 jars off and make a meal in a matter of 10 minutes, it's already cooked. You're just warming it up, heating it up, I'll say. Why would you not do it?
Right.
No, I did that last night.
Yeah.
I made hamburger
I need
soup.
to get canning more, though, is my problem. But that's beside the point.
I'm working on meals, just on a personal note, because I'm a caregiver. I'm working on meals that when I'm not feeling up to it, because I still have to take care of my husband. And so I'm working on meals that I can just grab off that shelf and kind of go, okay, I'm making meals, and just kind of be able to like quickly get that done, you know what I mean, and get back and lay down, you know what I mean? Because you never know when you're not feeling good and you've got to take care of somebody and still cook. And I can kind of go, here we go, you know what I mean? That is the cool thing about canning for me, is to be that kind of creative.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you explain the seal with that lid that makes with or without the band? All right.
Let me get Grace and Fire up.
Got the prop check going.
I'm going to do my best. Okay, so on these lids, so here's the lid, and you can see the orange. That is a rubber gasket. And when that heats up, that will actually seal onto the jar. It's as simple as that. And then once it seals, you can literally lift the jar up with the lid. That's all. It's as simple as that.
And then the band goes on to help
and then,
during the process.
And then the band.
to hold
Yep.
it
Sorry,
in.
I didn't catch the second half of it. So yeah, so you just do it finger tight. Actually, this tool has a little magnet on it. So if you wash them and you're simmering them, you can put that on like that out of your pot. Stick that on the top. Except for I'm making a let me do this again. That's not a fair assessment. There. Because you don't want to touch the inside of your lid. Anyhow, screw it on. Of course, okay, so it's got to be just finger tight. And notice how like the jar is spinning. That's good enough. And then put it into your canner. And then it will seal. But make sure you wipe your rims of your jars with a paper towel or a rag, and make sure there's no food on there. Because if there's any kind of food on there, your lid will not seal to that jar, period.
And I would like to add to that, when you use your paper towel, don't use the same finger and the same piece of you want to actually take your piece of paper and move it around your finger and not use the same. Like, I don't know how many YouTubers I actually see doing that. And they use the same.
You just literally, you do this, and then you like, okay, you can go like on this other corner.
But do me a favor.
The same side.
Linda, show them how to wipe, because the way you just did it is what I see YouTube doing in general. They do the dainty "I'm a girl" around the top. Oh, that's so pretty.
No, I do.
You
like
need
several.
to wipe around that
I
edge.
do. I go like this, like several times.
And it wasn't towards you. It's just the way you showed it. It looked.
Because I went fast. But anyhow, so no, you go around like this, And then I really do inspect before I look at it. I get down on it to make sure there's nothing. And then if I need to do it again, I'll get another paper towel because sometimes I'm sloppy. But I make sure that I get it all cleaned off because, like, if there's any amount of food, years of experience has taught me these lids will not seal.
Okay. Can you reuse the lids?
No.
Not for processing in cans.
No. If you're just using them for storage, like just to put, I don't know, paper clips in a jar, on your, for something else, you could reuse them for that. But I would not use it to process food again. That's not approved.
Because you've done so much work. Why would you risk it not sealing the second time?
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
making it thick? It's just
Is there any reason you can't leave the rig on the lids until you use them?
Yes.
So
One good reason.
Yeah, and so this is experience. If your air temperature changes, your lid could fail you and you will get mold in there and the food will go bad. If that lid is off, you will know not to eat that food. The other thing is don't stack your jars like this because it'll help create an improper seal. So you don't want to do that. So you definitely want to make sure that that's a proper seal.
Okay. So I think JB is asking, the rim goes on after it cools.
No, goes on.
That's it.
No, you put your food in the jar.
Mm-hmm.
Wipe your rim real good.
Debubble.
Huh?
Debubble.
Debubble. Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Debubble. Debubble.
Check your headspace. Wipe your rim.
Wipe your rim.
Now you're on your own.
Now I'm on my own. Get your jar lid. Stick your ring on top. Screw it on. Of course, that's going to fall. And then finger tight. And then put it in your canner, whether it be water bath or pressure.
Okay.
Sherry, can you show me real quick?
Sure.
So what you guys got to remember the reason why those bands go on there after you've got the lid on is because the temperature and the time you're doing is trying to penetrate to the middle of the jar. As the air moves, because it's a natural flow, think of it as a volcano. That air is rising to the top and the band's holding the lid on because naturally air goes out from under the lid. So it's holding the lid secure on while that process is happening. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Is my jar still okay if I forget to debubble? Y'all are asking some good questions.
Yeah, you guys are. Yeah.
These ones are good because it's making us think about it, because I think each of our own situations might be different on how we would handle a different situation. So
okay, so let's start with Brenda.
Put me in the hot seat first. What do you say? I have forgotten. I don't know that I've ever debubbled jam. It been bad. You know what I mean?
I think, I got to throw something out there because I seen somebody do that the other day and it just drove me through the roof. And it's not to you, Glenda. Okay, just hear me out on this. I think for new canners, I think it's important to follow the same process because then you become accustomed to what said process is. I specifically am not talking about you because I know you know what you're doing. Okay.
Yeah.
A lot of that is dependent on whether the viscosity of the product inside the jar is thick enough to where you need to release the air. Okay. Right. Most of the time, jellies, you don't have that issue because it's just liquid.
Right.
So to go with her, I agree. Jellies, you're probably safe on. Once you have something else in it that's thick, though, I would recommend at least to new canners until you get onto your space and do what you want to. I would still debubble just to make sure that there's no problem.
Right.
That's what I
Just get in the habit.
get in the habit. That's what I'm trying to say.
You need to set yourself up with a groove. Like, do you get a whole canner's worth and just do one at a time and just, debubble, wipe your rim, add salt? Like, you got to stay focused. You can't be listening to your favorite live stream and chewing gum at the same time. You got to be aware of what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah.
Like with green beans, there is a lot of trapped air in green beans, and that will cause siphoning.
Yeah.
And what cause siphoning, it might fail your seal.
Right.
So you just pay attention.
For the fermentation process. I've not tried it. I ferment
I'm not
foods.
a fermenter, so I don't know.
I am.
I use pickling lids, pickle pipes.
Yeah, that's what
Okay.
Yeah, same here.
After you ferment, I would.
47.
Yeah, I just haven't.
Should you use new rings as well as lids?
No, I use the same.
Only when they rust.
Yes.
Rust, or when you go to put them on the thread and they're not doing it anymore, you need to get rid of that band.
But now they make a great crafting project. So
yes, but for canning processing.
But for canning processes, yes. But if you want a good crafting project, do some research with the old lids. Or the old bands, sorry, I mean.
I seen a question go by a little bit earlier, if I could answer real quick. JB, I think, asked, what is the brand name of the debubbler? There is no brand name unless you're buying a brand product. The debubbler is the tool, and most of your kits include a debubbler.
Yep.
If they want to check out my Amazon store, I have a couple.
Yes. There you go.
Okay.
Yep.
My debubbler has the measurement at the bottom.
I think
So do you
doesn't
have your
call it the Sticky Joe or something like that?
Grace and Fire, do you have your kit? Because I did find the kit at Walmart. You don't?
I don't.
Me grab mine. Okay.
Yes, go grab yours. I'm actually, other than my debubbler and my jar measuring, I've got everything downstairs because it's in use.
Meanwhile, I think you can talk about the whole, what I forgot what question I just had.
I have a few questions in my chat that we can answer.
Yeah,
Okay,
let's go for it.
There you go.
There was a question about using canning recipes from the 40s, like ball books. You can't use those. Anything that's like new or older than 12 years.
10.
They're 10.
10.
They're decorations.
Yeah.
Because they're always hopefully improving the canning recipes that we're using. Like, for instance, they just came out a couple years ago with a new headspace for chicken, and they were finding that chicken expands more than any other poultry. So you want to make sure you're using 1.25 inches for chicken, and anything else is 1 inch. And then we had another question Daz tried to answer. I'm looking where it might have gone. Okay. If you have jars leaked, but the seal is still intact, can you still store them? So if they have a good seal, and I'm guessing she's talking about siphoning, as long as there's at least half your jar full of water, it's good.
Liquid.
But I would recommend using those first if you have that much siphoning. So you just want to be aware of what's in those jars, and they're still good. I wouldn't throw the food away.
Right.
Right. And there's a question, is there a way to prevent the rings from rusting? Unfortunately, no. It just happens.
Over time.
Just washing
and they're
them.
They're not too terribly expensive. You can buy them. This is actually a kit that I bought. It's got the lids with it, and they're just a couple dollars more than just buying the lids alone.
Okay. So
And just
I don't know about the other
lids.
two ladies, but I want to throw this. Oh, sorry.
We're talking about ring management or maintenance, just making sure you're washing them quickly, making sure they're dry completely, and making sure they're air drying in storage.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I use a hanger that you can hold your pants on. It, $5 at Walmart. It has 4 rods across and a clip. I just put 2 rows of regular mouth and 2 rows of wide mouth. And that's all I use until they're bad. Then I go up to the attic to my tote where I have 2 totes and load them up. Because you just don't need that much clutter in your kitchen, especially when you're canning, because you can never have enough counter space when you're canning. So, yes.
I have got to throw something out, and I don't know if you guys noticed it or not. I'm going to count this live chat very successful. Restream just posted out you've had over 1,000 messages today on this Restream. That is huge.
Wow.
That is
That's
huge.
That's
Yeah, it
good.
is.
We want to get out that safe and proper canning. So the more we talk about it, the more we can push the positive along. So that's good.
Absolutely.
But I grabbed my utensil set. I don't know if you can.
I can see it.
Let's see. We found this. I know it's hard to see. We found this at Walmart, and it did come with everything.
The Pokey Joe.
Pokey Joe. I wonder who says that.
I don't know. I've heard that one too many times.
Came with a funnel, and it came with everything.
Jar lifter.
So you're gonna hold that jar lifter from the gray side. Yep, there you go. And then you'll get your jars, and you'll just kind of like it'll grab onto your jars, Sherry.
Okay.
Can I throw something out real quick? Sherry, pick that back up again, please.
Which one?
The jar lifter. Okay, and make you big.
Oh, wait a minute. I have mine. I'm sorry.
Okay.
I found it. I thought I took it downstairs. We're going to do it together. Here.
Glenda, will you show them how not to let the water drip back down your arm into your
yeah.
armpit, please?
Because I did this when I was a new canner.
Do what?
Okay, put it back. Here, show me. Okay, so when you do that, when you go to lift it and drain the water out of it, sterilizing jar, you know what I'm talking about? It's got water in it. Make sure you pour it up under the pot, not up, so it rolls down your arm.
Oh, don't hold it. Oh, yeah. No, you just.
Some people may not know that though, so I'm just trying to.
Yeah, I didn't know it.
I'm a short person, so I don't have that problem. So the canner's up here, so like it just, I don't have that. So if you're tall, don't do this.
Yeah, for us.
Go ahead.
Keep it.
No, I was gonna say about having don't tip your jar because the water is on top of the lid.
Oh yeah,
seal. No, it's gonna evaporate.
Never do this. Never do that.
What she's talking about, Sherry, right there. Let's assume you're pulling that jar out of the pot after it's processed. It's got the water on top and the ring on top. People have a tendency to tilt it to get that water off top. Don't, because you're now changing the science in that jar.
Yeah, because you can't shake the jar.
You shouldn't. No.
Just pull it straight up and out. And actually, it will evaporate within about 30 seconds to a minute. It'll all be gone. So, I mean, just ignore it. Go straight up and just set it down.
G-Mom Rose said, oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So, but anyhow, Sherry, the way that I hold mine, just to help you out with when you go to grab it, because it's kind of interesting to hold them. I hold mine. I just kind of hold it like this, like the actual grabby thing. You'll just have to find a way that's comfortable for your hands.
Yeah.
And you want to practice that before you like go grabbing, because you'll be like, I can't get this jar. Because when it gets heavy and it's full, it's a different feel.
It's weird. Yeah, and I'm left-handed. So it's going to
You're left. Okay. Well, then let me. I don't have.
So it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of work and brain power for me.
Okay, so same thing. I'm doing it with my left hand.
It sounds like me trying to point in this picture.
Oh, yeah. So that's just how I do it. But find a comfortable position, with your hand, like, and play with it before you actually can, so you know what you're doing with that. That'll help you out, because it's a whole like when this feels completely different than this. And so when you're getting out of a water bath, you don't want to burn yourself.
Yeah, when you're sitting there and you're washing your jars and checking them out, set them in your water, in your sink water. Take your grabber and pull it out. That'll give you a feel That'll give you a feel. It may not be exactly it, but it'll give you the feel for it.
Yeah, because I just don't want you, like when you're pulling this out, you don't want to like have any water splash back on you or anything. I don't want you burning yourself or anything. So just play with that. That's just a tip that I learned kind of the hard way.
Yep.
And Suburban Hillbilly is saying, make sure you're lifting with the jar and not the ring.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, never.
What I would do is get under that first lip if you can to grab
I'm not even going to grab it. I'm not going to grab my food because I'm afraid it'll unseal. Okay, see, that's some thinking.
I would go even farther
there.
Under.
I wouldn't even grab it like this. This would be a big no for me. I had to really look and think about that one. So I'm going to pull it back.
Under that last.
Yep,
this is actually how I grab mine.
Yep.
And in fact, I'm just like that. That's how I grab mine.
Yep. See, I should have brought mine up here. I have a spring-loaded pair.
I do too.
I absolutely love them.
I have one as well. Yeah, I have one too.
That's on your Amazon.
It's in there.
So Leanne Mennonite has the entire shebang for your canning needs in her Amazon store.
I mean, I don't have the outdoor canning sink on my Amazon store because my husband bought me a old dairy farmer's. It's a sink. It's a 2-compartment sink that a dairy farm would have for in their milk tank room for washing stuff. He bought that at a dairy supply store for $125. You can't get a sink for $125. So that is my tip of the day. If you want to wash your vegetables outside and not in your grain kitchen like I have, go outside with a garden hose and wash them out there 3 or 4 times before you even bring them inside. Because I absolutely love my outdoor sink.
Sherry, can you finish? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
And it's galvanized and it's food grade, so you don't have to worry anything about that.
Sherry, finish showing us your kit. What else did you get?
So that was it. I got the 3-piece kit with the. Let me make this bigger. I think it was about $10. It wasn't expensive though. Which this goes on top of your jar so that you don't make a mess. Right. Pretty much. My grabby thingy, which I have to practice with.
Yep.
With my left hand.
No, you don't have to practice. You just need to get to using it.
Yeah.
Oh, snap. Yes, there it went.
And my debubbler.
Yep.
So that is what comes in the 3-piece ball set. And we found it at Walmart. It was a few there, very few, but we did find it at Walmart.
I do like, Glenda, because I have the same thing she does, and I'm sure Leanne does or has used it, the magnet stick. The way, especially just starting out, if you do jams and jellies, you don't have to heat your stuff up anymore. So it's almost kind of like it's not a necessary thing. So if you don't have the magnet thing, all I'm saying is don't freak out. I mean, I think it's almost, I don't want to say use
for other things.
It's not, because you can use it for other things, but
yeah. No, but
I still use it.
Mandatory. But, I do mine. Yep. Yeah.
So we have a question. Can broccoli or cauliflower be canned, water bath or pressure can?
No. The only thing you can do with go ahead.
Cauliflower can be pickled, which is in I don't remember which book, but it might be in this book. But other than that, you can't.
No.
Okay. So we coming up on better to dehydrate it.
Or freeze.
Or freeze dry it.
Yeah.
Or freeze dry it.
Yeah.
I've got one of those. Another subject, another day.
Yeah, that's the fun part. So, y'all, we are coming up on 2 hours. Do anybody have any closing words for our amazing guests?
Don't be afraid. Just do it.
Yeah.
It will be all right.
have tons of fun. And you know what? There are some pretty cool ball jars out there. I didn't show this. I actually picked the ball and I checked to make sure you can can in it. This year's color is pink, and you can can in this one. So
What?
have fun. Yeah, they're pricey, but
Oh,
I like to get the fun jars just because, you know, I have
See,
fun canning.
I have the problem. I'm one of those people that would just want to put it on my shelf and just look at it.
Yeah. And it
No,
would be
I'm
great for
using
gifts.
these. I am using them, and it's pretty. And yes, you can can in these jars, in the new jars, not in the old. So this is brand spanking new. But have fun with canning. Try some of the recipes from the ball, from the USDA, food preservation, extension offices. Get out there. What are you waiting for? That's my question.
So true. So, we'll see how things go and if we need to keep this discussion going a few more weeks. I thought it was a good month to talk about canon, and I don't even mind hearing the same thing over and over because I know for the main part of it, I need to always do my research, look at my book. Now, if I cannot afford to purchase these books, how can I find this information?
Your library online at freshpreserving.com, the USDA website, and your local extension offices. Pennsylvania has it, Purdue University. Tony, what was the one that you said?
Clemson University and Washington State University and Oregon State University.
There you go.
All right. So I'm gonna
I
drop
want
y'all.
to throw something in there.
Okay.
Don't be afraid. Just go do it. Wash your damn hands and grab your
Wash
balls.
your damn hands.
And
Yes.
you go pokey.
And
Pokey
your pokey
Joe.
joke.
I said it backwards, didn't I?
All right. I'm gonna drop y'all down for a second while I
Okay,
end this.
I'll be back in a minute too. So
Okay. All right, y'all. So this was episode 2 of Grab Your Balls. It's canning season. So the purpose in this is because we do want to promote and encourage safe and proper canning. You know, of course, it can be scary. It can be dangerous. But we definitely want to make sure when I send Dorsha or take her some lemon guava jam, that if she decide to open it in 6 months, it will not hurt or harm her or her family. So we definitely want to encourage safe and proper. So we will carry on this conversation for a few more weeks, and it's okay. Same questions are welcome. Just please bring your questions because we don't mind and we learn from each other, but we most definitely appreciate you. We all the support, all of the love, all the questions. You can leave questions under this in the comment section. I will write them down and we will ask them again next week. So I sound ready. Best yet, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. But yeah, with that being said, we shall see y'all Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a little Black Tropical sip and chat. Y'all know how we do with my husband on Fridays. Y'all have a blessed day and don't let nobody steal your joy.